What is up, everybody? It is Sunday. I am back from drill, and it's a really nice, beautiful day outside. And I spent a lot of it doing my army tasks, which wasn't really a whole lot. But anyway, I got some food on the way back home, and I talked to one of the drive-through guys, and he expressed some interest in joining the military. And I thought, why don't I make a video about getting in the military? Um, so this video is going to be about the process for starting an Army active duty career, National Guard career, or reserves. Um, I'm going to use National Guard and Army Reserves interchangeably in this. They're relatively almost the same. The only difference is the reserves are for federal funding and National Guard are state funded. But we're not going to get into those specifics. That's for a whole different video, a whole different cat and bag of worms. But the Army is the largest branch in the armed forces. It has many different kinds of jobs, many different kinds of specialties. There's so many different kinds of trainings and courses and schools you can go to and certificates you can gain. But the very first thing you need to do before you even think about anything, no matter, you're not going to be able to talk to your homeboy about this. You're not going to be able to talk to some guy in the military like you just may. You have to talk to a recruiter because they have the absolute most up-to-date information that they can give you. They're going to go over stuff like what you like to do for your hobbies. What jobs do you like? What do you might want to get into? What's your background like? If you have any criminal background, do you have any tickets, anything like that? They're going to go through all that just kinds of stuff. And eventually they're going to get down. This might be at Meps or it might be before. It's the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. That's a lot of words. And I'm an Army guy. But you can take that at MEPS or before. I took mine at like a testing facility beforehand. If you've been out of school for a while, if you're not coming into the military through after high school or after college, you might want to get a study guide because there's a lot of stuff on there that you're probably not going to remember and you might not do as well as you want. And the better you do, the better the chance of you getting a good job in the military. You might forget small details. And like I said, even when I took it, I kind of forgot some things. It's not hard. It's not terribly difficult, but to brush up on some things would be a bad idea. If you fail the first time, you have to wait one full calendar month until you can take it again. If you fail a second time, you have to wait 2 full calendar months. And if you fail a third time, a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th time, you have to wait 6 months from that on, which then you should probably start studying. And because, like I said, it's not that hard, not that complicated. It's very easy. And those scores are good for 2 years. Study, study, study. Remember, the higher score you get on the ASVAB, the better chance you're going to get for better jobs, and the better people are going to look at you actually like you know what you're talking about. It involves math, reading, logical reasoning, and writing, 4 big real portions of it. And like I said, it's not difficult, but it's some of those things we don't really think about on our normally day jobs unless we were coming from high school or from a college setting. So like I said, after that, I did initial PFT, which is a physical fitness test. It's going to be with a bunch of other potential Army candidates. What I did when I went is I did 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a mile run. And they just kind of gauged it, and depending on where you were, they just kind of gauged to where you could be. I don't even know if they really use that for anything. I guess they just kind of put that down, just kind of give me an idea of if I suck or not. I didn't do too bad. So I didn't do too bad. They're going to do the same thing when you get to your unit or you get to your base training anyway. They're going to do the same exact initial testing. I don't know with COVID nowadays, they might not do that, but I know that they have been kind of like foregoing a lot of the testing because it's a lot of like face-to-face contact, but that's beside the point. Now they start doing the Opat, which is the Occupational Physical Assessment Test, which the Opat and instructions are going to be linked in the description below. It's going to be just the standing long jump, the seated power throw, the strength deadlift, and the interval aerobic run, which is like a shuttle sprint. I'm not going to get into details about that. If you want to look more into it, just link in the description below. Check that out. It's going to be a test in order to get into a certain MOS or military occupational specialty. I can speak. Specialty. There's different standards for each kind of different kinds of work, and that's all variant upon what you do. So infantry is going to be a lot different than someone who's going to be an admin clerk, so it's all different kinds of things. But the biggest thing is before you even get into there, you may even want to waste your time. You have to understand that the Army and the military in general is only for certain kinds of individuals. I went in the military, people who went in there and they got kicked out or they were arrested for being, not being able to separate their prior life from the military life when I was active duty and when I was in the Guard as well. So it's definitely a different lifestyle. And it's definitely something that is a culture shock. But certain disquals, you have to be at least 17 with parents' permission or 18 without. For active duty, you have to be 34 years. You can't be no older than 34 years, or National Guard or Reserves. My apologies. You can't be older than 42. You have to have citizenship. You can't be. You have to be a U.S. citizen or an alien resident. For physical functions, you have to have all functionality of your limbs and everything else. You can't have any abnormalities, missing limbs, stuff like that. You can, obviously, if you're missing arms and legs, probably most likely not going to be the case, but you get like missing finger. There's some kind of medical waivers, but normally they kind of shy away from doing those because they'd rather just find someone that doesn't have those kind of issues, and it's much easier. The recruiter's main thing is getting you on board through basic training, through your IT, and that increases their numbers and make them look good. But at the end of the day, they want you to get you in, but you got to know what you're getting into. So, height, weight standards, body weight standards, body fat, which is going to be linked in the description below about what the allowable body fat percentage and weight standards is to get in. And there's a difference between being in and then maintaining while you're in. What else? A criminal record check. Any history of criminal records, arrest is definitely just a grounds for disqualifications. Even if it's like an underage drinking ticket, it can be grounds for disqualifications. You don't get in trouble. If you have any trouble, you can ask. They can waive certain things, but normally not. They're normally pretty serious about that. The Army is actually the most lenient out of all of them, with the hardest being like the Air Force and the Marine Corps. Navy's kind of like, and the Army is kind of like the same, and the Coast Guard's even pretty tough as well. So, like I said, the Army and the Navy are a little more lenient with certain things, but the Army is definitely the most lenient, I would think, because they actually the lowest ASVAB scores to get into, I think, which is like 65. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I digress. So, also medical conditions. You can't have any mental health disorders, I believe. I don't know for 100%. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're, for obvious reasons. You check me on that, but I mean, most likely if you go to a doctor or psychologist, is going to say if you have mental health issues, they're not going to let you in, for obvious reasons. And they're going to take a look at your life. They're going to talk to you and see what kind of life you live, if you've been beaten up as a kid or whatever. And they may or may not be able to let you in depending upon certain those kind of factors. Also, a real big thing, a huge thing, is drug history, standards, and use. If you're smoking weed in high school and you want to join the military, you're probably not going to be able to join the military. They're going to ask, and they're going to talk to people, and they're going to be like, well, this guy... They're not going to talk to a bunch of people, but they go around and be like, hey, is this guy a pothead? And they're going to be like, yeah, that guy's kind of a pothead. And I'm like, well, we don't want him. So don't be smoking marijuana, especially not while you're in. So I've watched people go to jail over it. Yeah, it's just marijuana, but it is what it is. It's federally, not legal, so you can't do that, obviously. Any other kinds of things like cocaine, stuff like that, definitely a big red flag. You're not going to get in. So just be truthful and be honest. If you pass all of that stuff, you eventually get some more paperwork to done, and then you go to Meps, which is the Medical Entrance Processing Station, which is a heck of a long day. There's a really good video in the description. There's a great in-depth view of what Meps really is. It's a very long day. It's normally the day right before you leave. When I went to Meps the day after I left from there, and I went to after Meps, I went to my the retention battalion. So it was pretty much, like I said, it's pretty much then and then. So it says in the video that you can do the ASVAB there, but I did mine somewhere else. It depends. Every single Meps and every process is a little bit different. They're kind of standardized for a lot of it. But like I said, every experience varies, so it's going to depend upon your experience. But for the most part, it's all the same. But there's great benefits as far as joining the Army and the National Guard and the Army Reserves. Right now, the National Guard is offering a 6-year $20,000 bonus, $10,000 up front and $10,000 lump sums after. So lump sum for $10,000 for initially, and then $10,000 after your start of your 4th year of your service. I'm on that right now. I just signed up for 6 years. What was it, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So I have 2 more years, and I get my other 10,000. But I got like 7,400 because they take tax out of it. But that's beside the point. I mean, it's still like a good amount of money. But to get that bonus, you still have to go through. You have to complete basic training and complete the IT, and actually you have to be MOS qualified. So you can't just get in the army and then like fail basic training. Like, oh well, it's 10 grand at least. Now you have to pay it all back. So or you just won't get it. So there's that too. So you might get it, don't spend it unless you pass everything. So and also if you get 10,000 and then in that time where you don't get it, like the fourth, you'll have to pay back. I'm pretty sure you have to pay back the other 10,000 too. Bonuses can be taken away, just like anything in the Army, if you don't do the right thing or if you get flagged for being failing PT, weight standards, all that stuff. Also, you can get bonuses for signing up. I had a buddy of mine who's a mortuary affairs specialist, got I think $8,000 signing up. They can tell you all that stuff when you get there. It's not a big deal. They'll go down a list at Meps, and they'll go down and tell you what you can sign up for, if there's any bonuses available, blah, blah, blah. The study income, active duty, they pay for food. If you live on base, you're gonna go to the DFAC, and they pay for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're gonna pay for a uniform allowance every year, and they're gonna pay for your housing. You're gonna live on base. You're gonna live in the barracks. So that's what it is. If you're active duty, but they pay for your housing. You're gonna pay for anything for that. They pay for your uniform allowance for all your PT uniforms and for your uniforms, OCPs. And they're gonna pay for your food. The National Guard also stays paycheck per month, and sometimes you do extra trainings. Most people who are like younger kids, like 18, 19, 20, 21, they don't have like really good full-time jobs out in the real world or civilian world. So they try to take a lot of these trainings and a lot of these extra details that come up in the National Guard and in the reserves, and they pay pretty well. They pay a lot better than most jobs are going to pay. So yeah, they may do more work, but they're also getting paid more, and they can potentially get trainings out of it. So, and schools and everything else. A lot of room for advancement and new responsibilities. From private to sergeant. If you go in as an officer candidate, if you go in as, but let me make a quick note about this. This is just for enlisted. I'm not going to go over OCS. I'm not going to go over WOC. I'm not going to go over any of those kind of things because that's a different kind of thing. This is just for the enlisted side. Join the Army. If you want to do OCS or go through ROTC or any of that kind of things, it's a completely different ball field. The same process goes with that. As you talk to your recruiter, they'll explain all that stuff to you. A lot of stuff on the internet about that, but that's just some of the down and dirty. Active duty, you get 2.5 days per month of vacation. So in your first year, no matter who you could be an E1 fuzzy private, and you still get 30 days of vacation, and you can hold up to 60 days. So you can technically take 2 months off. Yeah, it's kind of difficult sometimes to take those time off, but you technically are be able to take. They normally let you take 30 full days straight in a row. Like I would take normally like 2 times a year, where I would take 2 weeks off and come back and visit family when I was active duty, or like a week here, a couple days here, or you can get like weekend passes. You can apply for those. It's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of different times where you can get time off. And the time working is as you could be a 9 to 5 job, or you could be a shift worker. I was a shift worker, but that's a video for another day. And they can train you for outside employment, so they can do on-the-job trainings. You can use CDL licenses, and if not, then you can do also life experiences in a job you might want to get into. They may even do like if you're doing like some kind of intel stuff, you can get like certs to do intel work in like Washington D.C. or stuff like that. So that's a real big thing. And if you're active duty, you get free healthcare. Yeah, I mean, the best healthcare in the world, but it's free, and it's cheap. It's free. For me, I mean, I even use the TRICARE Reserve Select, which for the National Guard and Reserve Unit. I use it, I think, for medical and dental. I think I pay like $60 a month, which is like, I mean, for me only. I mean, I don't really have any medical like issues or problems, so I rarely ever have any issues with paying any out-of-pocket expenses. I had one incident where it was like a tooth issue, and I think I paid like $180, but that was like very rare. And they have a whole list about what goes over like their copay and stuff like that, but that's all online. If You're unless you also pay a little bit less taxes. Your housing isn't taxed, your food isn't taxed, and your uniform allowance aren't taxed. The only thing that's taxed is your base pay, which is if you're an E1 or E1, E4, E5, taxes are even all the way up. You don't really pay that much taxes. Also for schooling, I used my post 9/11 GI Bill from when I was active duty to get my master's degree. You can use that. You can use the Montgomery GI Bill, the Post 9/11 GI Bill, EAP for the Reserves and National Guard, and like I said, the Army will, if you're active duty, they'll pay while you're in. There's a lot of opportunities to go to schooling, for free schooling, reduced schooling, stuff like that, and there's also many other types of benefits. Like being a veteran status, discounts, whatever. If you're into that kind of stuff, but this is a small snippet of some of the things, especially being the best fighting force in the world. I hope you like this. I hope this is kind of giving you a little bit of broad understanding about what the Army and the Army National Guard or Reserves unit can bring to you. And as always, I hope you have a great Army Day and stay Army strong.